Welcome to Dying in Grace, the program that explores all aspects of end-of-life care and the process of death and dying so that we can live in grace and in comfort. We believe that it's time to take the taboo away from talking about death and embrace it as a natural part of life. Each week, we like to bring a community expert to offer their view, their expertise about some aspect of living and dying in grace. And tonight's guest is my friend Penelope Salinger, who's a licensed clinical social worker. Welcome, Penelope.
Thank you.
Oh, and I forgot to tell people my name is Arlene Stepputat, and I am your host for the evening. And if you'd like to know more about my own experience with death and dying, you can go to our website, dyingingrace.com, and read about my experience, and also there's a 3-minute video clip about my own life story with befriending death. We also have a YouTube station, Dying in Grace, so you can go to YouTube to watch past shows, and also you can follow us on Twitter at Dying in Grace. Our website is dyingingrace.com. And we do air the show on TV SB on Channel 71. So now that I've got that in, let me re-welcome, Penelope Salinger. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh, you're welcome, Arlene. It's my pleasure.
And tonight we're going to talk about the Threshold Choir, but I thought it would be good to tell people just a tad about your previous experience because it connects in with the work of the Threshold Choir.
Yeah, actually my first job out of social work school was with Hospice of Santa Barbara, which at that time was joined with Visiting Nurses Association. So I thought that that was a really good introduction to what it's like to be around people who are dying and their family members, and has given me a background that is not necessary to do what we do as part of the choir, but is very helpful to me.
Right, and so, but then you also have a fairly extensive musical background, and we mentioned the Threshold Choir, but let's tell people what the Threshold Choir is.
Yeah, we feel a calling to sing at the bedside of those who are dying. And we go by invitation, and we focus our songs according to the musical tastes of the person we're singing for, and also according to their particular spiritual path, if they have one. So the songs are selected for an individual. We're a service choir, we're not a performance choir. And so that means that we sing in very small places. Even though we have the name choir, when we go to a bedside, it can be one person going, but we usually like to take 3, sometimes 4, because a lot of our songs are in 3-part harmony, and we sing a cappella. It's basically lullaby voice.
Yeah. It's true, because sometimes when I've mentioned the Threshold Choir, there is this image of the Mormon tabernacle coming in, chomping around a bedside. So it's really important to understand it's small. And Santa Barbara has, you are one of the leaders, so the chapter's been in Santa Barbara for quite some time now. So could you tell us how long, first, how did the Threshold Choir get started?
Okay, our founder is Kate Munger, who lives in the Bay Area, and she had a friend who was dying of AIDS, and people were taking shifts caring for him. And she had done everything practical that she could think of on her shift. He was a quilt maker. She'd folded his quilts, washed the dishes, and couldn't think of anything else to do, and felt slightly uncomfortable. So she said she did what she always did when she feels uncomfortable, which was to start singing. And she sang the same song over and over, and realized that as a result of her singing, her friend's breathing had deepened and slowed, and he was relaxed, and he had fallen asleep. And she saw the connection between that kind of singing and comfort for a person in the end stages. So after having given it some thought, she gathered some friends. This was on the spring equinox in 2000. she had been in round singing groups, so she pulled from people who did that, and she had them meet in her living room and talk about, shall we do this as a practice? And that began the Threshold Choir. I don't know that it was called that at that point, but over the course of about 5 or 6 years, she started 10 choirs in the Bay Area. The rest of the choirs got started by people saying, I want that in my community. And so they would start the choir with help from Kate, if possible. And since that time, the number of choirs we can't quite keep track of because they keep growing. Last I knew it was over 150. There's over 2,000 people who call themselves members of the Threshold Choir, and it's now international. It's in 8 different countries.
That's really amazing.
Yeah.
That's really amazing. And so how did the one in Santa Barbara get started?
Okay, so 2 women, Marilyn Power Scott and Nan Rowan, were part of a rounds group here, and that's how they actually knew Kate. And they decided they wanted to start a Threshold Choir. So that was in 2005.
So our choir has been going on for 13 years.
Yes.
That's quite remarkable, really.
Yeah.
So tell us what happens. I know we have a video clip, but set that up because we have a way to give people a sense, a little taste of what the choir experience might look like. So tell us about that.
Yeah, okay, so we sing a cappella. Usually the melody is the middle part, and then there's a high harmony and a low harmony. We sing in the home of a person who's dying, we sing in the hospital room, we sing in a hospice care facility, we sing in other care facilities. So usually the person is in a bed, and we sit. We want to be at eye level with the person that we're singing to so that they're not having to look up. We sit close, and we use hand signals as we're singing so that we're not interrupting the process by talking a lot. We try to talk as little as possible. If the person is awake and alert and sitting up, then they may want to sing with us. So then we will choose songs that they might know, which can come from anywhere.
Right.
And that's quite a joy for us when someone sings along with us. If the person is in bed and what I call journeying,
Right.
Meaning they're not responding to
Right.
us, then I think of it as we're providing a soundtrack that supports their journey. We're not trying to call them back. We're not trying to influence their journey. We're just trying to support the journey. So we choose the songs for that purpose. And the songs are usually sung slowly, sung softly, which is actually a harder way to sing than
Right.
a performing way of singing.
Yeah, you're not belting them out.
Right. And we usually sing the melody first before we go into harmony. And we sing as many repetitions as it seems indicated. We watch the person we're singing for and gear what we sing and how long we sing to however they're responding to the songs. And we often then at the end drop out the words and just sing ooh. And we've discovered through our own practice of sitting in the chair. We have a reclining chair that we take to rehearsals, and we take turns in the chair being sung to. And we've discovered that when we end with ooh and several repetitions, it really lets the person relax and get transported.
Right, because the brain doesn't have to hear any kind of lyrics.
Doesn't have to process anything.
So in this clip, we will see an example of that somewhat?
Yeah, let me set that up for you. This was done as an actual filming project. So we had an interviewer, Patricia Diorio was the interviewer, and we had 2 members of the choir, longtime members, Hawthor Hammett and Carol Sharp, and they're seated on either side of her. Now, ordinarily we would go into harmonies, but because there were two of them, they sang in unison, so that's a little different than at bedside, although sometimes that's what's most appropriate, is singing in unison. And one thing that's different than the way it would be if we were at somebody's home, first of all, the arrangement of the chairs are so they can face the camera.
Right.
And we wouldn't be facing, we'd be facing the person we're singing to. And in this clip, they were reaching out and touching Patricia. But at a bedside, we don't initiate touch. If a person themselves initiates touch, if they reach their hand out, we will of course take their hand. But we don't initiate touch.
Right. So that also, by not touching it, lets that person be in their own space, take that journey, as you say, without even having the physical pull them.
Exactly.
They can just go wherever the music transports them.
Yes. And the other thing I want to say about the clip is that the song that they're singing is Deeply Loved, which was written by Marilyn Power Scott from our choir. And we can talk about that later.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So let's go to the video clip, please.
You are loved, deeply loved. You are a well-cherished garden. You are loved, deeply loved. You are a treasured child. All your life, all your days, from the very first moment of being, you've been loved, greatly loved. You are loved. You are loved, deeply loved. You are a well-cherished garden. You are loved, deeply loved. You are a treasured child. All your life, all your days, from the very first moment of being, you've been loved, greatly loved. You are loved.
So what I loved about watching that clip was just how peaceful. You could see that Patricia was in fact transported. She was somewhere else, just soaking in and receiving that music. And I think that was a beautiful example of, and she's healthy when she was doing that, so you can imagine how it might feel for somebody who's been challenged in the body and having illness and that type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, we consider it a standing ovation when we sing someone to sleep. That it makes us very happy when we can just tiptoe out of the room knowing that we've sung them to sleep.
Well, and I have heard tales that you have also sung someone to the final sleep. Is that accurate?
Yes, yeah, that was quite an amazing experience. When we get a call, we can't always get there right away, but there was something urgent about this one. And I was at work when I got the call, and I just felt like, okay, I'm going to get there, even if I can't round up other singers. So then I got a call that another person could come. So, great, we got two of us. And then just as I arrived at the facility, I got a call from a third person. And the reason we were called was they wanted us to sing in Spanish. And which is, we have several songs that we sing in Spanish. So we were at the bedside, we went right into Spanish, and the woman who had arranged for us to come, the sister of the woman we were singing for, gets a phone call in the middle of it, and she's saying, they're singing to her in Spanish, and it was clear that it meant a lot to her. So we finished the one song, and we were about ready to go into another song in Spanish, and she said, sing it again. So we just immediately went into 3-part harmony, sang it again, and we watched the woman take her final breath as we were singing to her in Spanish. And it just made me feel so glad that the last thing she heard was her mother tongue.
Beautiful. And such, like you had said, it's like in that lullaby voice, that gentle sleeping or final sleep. So that's really beautiful. Earlier you said that Marilyn, as a member of the choir, has written, but you've been modest because you also have written some quite beautiful music. And can you talk about the repertoire, perhaps, because there's some music that the choir, if you're a member of the choir, has, as I understand it. You can see that on the website. So talk about the song selections.
Sure. Well, when it started out, Kate Munger just took songs that were out there, Shenandoah, Dona Nobis Pacem, Amazing Grace. And then she started writing songs. The songs are very simple. They're usually about 4 lines long. And she started writing songs, and then other people started writing songs for the choir. And Marilyn Power Scott is a composer who's written a number of songs for the repertoire. And I have several songs in the repertoire as well. And the choir has made 3 CDs. The most recent one, which is called Walking Each Other Home, has a song from Marilyn on it, Rest Easy, and one of my songs, Dear One, on it. So Santa Barbara is very well represented on that CD.
Well, I have heard that CD, and I've heard those songs live, and they are among my favorites. Not just because I know the composers, but because of the beauty and the meaning of both the lyrics, because I think it's the lyrics and the way the songs lend themselves to harmony when we have the people for the harmony. When you have that, it's really beautiful. So if I was wanting the Threshold Choir to come to sing for someone I know, how would I do that here in Santa Barbara?
Okay, well, there's several ways. One is we have our local phone number. Let me see if I can get it accurately. 805-322-3558, I believe, is our phone number. And then we have, you can email us, which is sbtchoir@gmail.com. Sometimes people find us by going to the national website, which is thresholdchoir.org, and they list where all the choirs are located, and if you put in a request, they will route it to us, and they'll send us an email asking us to follow up. So those are 3 ways.
That's great, and that's really important for other viewers to know or to share with one of their loved ones across the country, where we're like, go to the website, see if there is a choir nearby, and then request it. And I think it's important for people to understand that there's no cost to have the choir come.
Oh, yeah, right. This is what we do as our service. People are welcome to make donations at any time, whether they make those at the national level or to a local choir, but we do not charge.
So what is it that keeps you going? I mean, you've been one of the leaders from early in the day, and that comes with responsibility. I understand shared leadership. What is the benefit that you get that keeps you wanting to do this and serve it in this way?
It's so satisfying. You know, when someone is in the end stages of life, we all want to do something. And there's very little that we can do at that point. So it's our presence that makes a difference. And if singing is one of our callings, then to be able to offer that and have it received, there's just this connection that happens. Not only the connection with the person we're singing for or the people that may be around them, but the connection with the life force. That's how I experience it. So it's really, whenever we leave, after we've sung to someone, we all just kind of look at each other and go, oh, wow, what an honor that was to sing for that person and that purpose.
Well, I think what's true is in true service, there's this giving and receiving where there's a communion. It's hard to know who got more.
Oh, yeah.
That's just been my experience of that. that true service where you just come together and you're in a space that's just really united?
Well, we always say we get the first blessing because singing activates that feeling of blessing. So we get the first blessing, and the person we sing to gets the second blessing.
So talk about how people learn the songs. I mean, does the choir rehearse? I mean, how do you get to go about learning these songs? Because you have quite a repertoire.
We do. Our choir is open to any woman who feels called to do this.
Do you have to audition or anything?
There's
Do you
no
have
auditions.
to read music? Any of those things?
No, you can learn by ear or you can read music, either way. There's 4 things that we're looking for: to be able to stay on pitch or be willing to learn how, to hold one's part while people are singing other parts or be willing to learn how, to learn to blend voices or be willing to learn how, and to be able to convey kindness with one's voice. So we work on all of those skills in our rehearsals. It's the blend that makes the difference. So sometimes people say, oh, you know, I don't have a good voice, I couldn't possibly do this. But we're not looking for soloists. We're looking for people who are willing to blend their voices with the people around them. And that's a matter of hearing, of listening, rather than the voice quality itself.
So it's a very open opportunity, and I believe that you have rehearsals. So if someone was interested, what's a time commitment? What is it that's required if you want to be a member?
Okay.
To learn.
Okay, so I'll start with the rehearsals. We rehearse on the 1st and 5th Fridays of the month. We rehearse at the Quaker Meeting House from 7 to 9. Then on the 3rd Friday of each month, we sing at Sarah House, the local social model hospice. And we call that a practice because we don't teach new songs, we don't learn harmony parts, we just sing as much as we can because people are listening from their rooms or sometimes they're with us in the circle. And then we also do a once a month Sunday afternoon rehearsal at the home of one of our members from 2 to 4. And we have a Facebook page, so that's a way for people to keep track of what we're doing. We sometimes also sing for what we call outreach events. We've sung for the Unity Shop fundraiser that takes place the first Friday in December at Cambridge Drive Community Church. We've sung for Light Up a Life ceremonies at the hospice, and both the visiting nurses and Hospice of Santa Barbara have end-of-year ceremonies
that
we've sung for.
Yes.
We've sung for the Coalition Against Gun Violence vigils. We do that every year. We sang for the Unitarian group, the Live Oak group, gave a very moving film called Extremis, and we were the bridge between, after people came out of watching that, which is pretty intense, then we were the bridge between that and the discussion which followed, which you facilitated about the services that are offered for end-of-life care.
And I want to just reference that movie for our viewers too. Extremis is on Netflix. It's on Netflix, and it's about advanced care planning. It's well worth it. It's about 40 minutes long, and it's a good real-life incentive to complete your advanced care directives. I wanted to say that you also, I've heard, sing at memorials, that you've sung at the bedside, and then families want you to come back. So
we sing at memorials, and we even sing at memorials for people that we didn't get a chance to sing for individually. That's part of our service as well. And so but I want to come back to, because I never completely answered your question about learning the repertoire and what the commitment is. Basically, if you want to become a bedside singer, you need to learn about 24 core songs that we carry with us we've learned by heart when we go to a bedside. So you need to learn that part. and then you need to have developed the ability to blend your voice with others at a bedside. And you can take as long as you need to learn those. There's some people who are like, I'm going to learn this right away. They come to rehearsals, they record the music on their phones, and then they go home and they learn it, and they learn parts, and so they become bedside singers fairly quickly. Others people say, you know, I don't have a lot of time, but I'll come when I can, and so it may take them several years before they become bedside singers. And it's not a requirement that you be a bedside singer. Some people come just because they want to sing, or they want to be with people who understand what it's the death and dying and grieving process, and they just come for their own benefit.
So for you, we talked earlier, and there's a message you want to give to our viewers about music and being with loved ones. Do you want to just kind of close that final message as we get here?
You don't have to be a member of the Threshold Choir to sing at bedside. You can sing for your loved ones. You can sing songs that your loved one cherished, if you know that, or you can take any song and turn it into a bedside song just by singing it softly and slowly. And all of that is appreciated and is a gift that you can give to your loved one.
Well, Penelope, thank you. The gift of music is a unique gift, and I appreciate reminding all of us that we have a unique song. Each one of us has a song, and we can offer it to our loved ones. So I really just want to thank you for sharing about the Threshold Choir. I'd like to thank my crew and TVSB, my crew Elliot Jacobson and Michael Nicholson, my wonderful guest Penelope Salinger, and we're going to ask Penelope to sign in the Book of Living Love, where we keep the memories of our loved ones. If you are interested in adding your loved one's name to the Book of Living Love, you can go to our website, dyingin grace.com, and we will put that name in the book, or you can do it electronically. If there's someone you'd like to remember, because to live in hearts we leave behind is not to die.
What a great idea.